Hello. It's a beautiful day out here in the city. I just came back from the library. I got some work done. The sun is out. People are smiling. People are hanging out in parks. There's good vibration everywhere. And I thought I'd come home and film this video for you that was inspired by an event that I went to a couple of weeks, maybe a month ago. So this wasn't a spiritual event, all right? This was a spiritual event. I'm a very spiritual guy. I love the idea of meditation. I love vibration theories and energy. And I believe that there is a higher purpose to the universe. I believe that there are laws that govern the universe, and human beings can learn how to manipulate those laws to their advantage. I'm not a religious person, but I am a spiritual person. And I was going to this spiritual event that was being held somewhere like in this huge ass park, which is basically almost like a forest. And me and around 15 other people would gather and we would meditate together, we would do yoga together. And it was marketed as a very transformative spiritual experience. So when I was going there, I actually had the mentality that I'm going to learn something new, that I'm going to learn something that's going to really change my life, that I'm going to leave here with a nugget of new information that I can incorporate into my life. And in the beginning, that was the case, right? We did some yoga. I never done yoga before that. So I did some good yoga, stretched out my muscles. We did some energy and breathing work. And all that was great. All that was amazing. But then at some point, towards the end of the event, we all finally gathered together. We had some fruits, we had some juice, we had some water, some kind of like treats in the middle while we all sat around in a circle. And the climax of the event was what was marketed on being the truly transformative experience was a little game that we were going to play together. And it was a game where everyone will write in secret their fears, their biggest fears in life. And then we would wrap it up in like a little piece of paper, put it in the middle, and then one by one, each of us would randomly pick a piece of paper, read it out loud to the group, and then discuss it and give advice and give any insights that we have, right? So this was supposed to be the transformative part of the event. And I quickly realized that as people kept picking up pieces of paper and they were reading out their fears, I would very often just instinctually have the answer to whatever problems that they had. And quickly, it didn't take long, like within 10 minutes, people would just read issues, like they would read the fear that was written on the piece of paper. And then everyone would just turn to me, like waiting for my insight. And I mean, it was a very honoring experience, and I really appreciated that. But to some level, I was a little bit disappointed because of how little I learned and how much value I gave to these people that were supposed to give value to me. And a lot of the questions that were being asked and a lot of the fears that people were writing about were fears that if you go out and really live life and you're fully engaged and you're fully interested in acquiring knowledge in the physical world, these answers become very obvious to you. Very, like these truths become real. They are out there if you truly look at the world in an objective way. I remember one person in particular wrote about how they are looking for a person to take care of them, that they wanted to find a partner or a friend that would listen to all of their problems and they would take them super seriously and show them the way through life. And pretty much they wanted a parent, pretty much. And I realized that a lot of people really delude themselves and really hold themselves back from engaging with the world fully because they're afraid of letting go of their fantasies about how the world works. A lot of people would much rather live in an idealistic world where they're being taken care of by their parents or by their friends or by their lovers, instead of actually going out and letting go of the fantasy and dealing with the real world, right? And this is the truth about the real world. The real world is full of games, okay? There are games being played everywhere, at any given time, at all times, okay? There are frame control games being played, power dynamics, social dynamics, power dynamics. There's all kinds of like status games constantly being played among people. And if you're someone that's idealistic and you still live in a fantasy that you conjured up during your childhood, instead of looking at the adult world objectively, then you're going to be taken advantage of, which was also a very common theme at the spiritual event that I went to. There were a lot of people being taken advantage of by people. There were a lot of people feeling that they were not powerful, that they were not strong, that they had no idea how the world works. And I find that usually spiritual people are so focused on the ethereal aspect of life, and they often forget that we live in a physical plane, and they delude themselves into thinking that as long as they're tapped in spiritually, that they're going to find their way in the world. But that's not true. That is not true. Okay, you need both. Because here's the thing, man, the physical world is harsh and it's savage. We're animals at the end of the day. We live in a perfectly constructed world where it makes us forget that. We have entertainment, we have all these buildings, we're protected from danger, we're protected from like the natural order that takes place in the jungles and in the forest and in the wild. But at the end of the day, this perfectly constructed cityscape that we live in is just a modern version of the wild. We still live in a jungle, and we don't have animals chasing after us. We don't have to scavenge for food. But what we do have is a competitive environment amongst the human race. Okay, games are constantly being played, and you need to be aware of that. Okay, because if you're not aware of that, you're always going to be taken advantage of, right? It's the people that know that the game exists and play the game that get the most lovers, the most high quality lovers. They get the better jobs, they get the most money, they get the most opportunities, and they live the happiest lives. All right. Being naive does nothing for you. All right. When you're in a social environment, when you're in the workplace, when you're in class, games are constantly being played. And if you're oblivious to that and you're holding on to an idealistic image of how the world works, you're going to be taken advantage of. I promise you that. And you're going to fail time and time and time again, and you will have no idea why that's the case. Like, I remember back when I used to study at university, I studied illustration and animation. And around my second year, I believe, it was a 4-year study. So on my second year, I remember I had failed a specific course and I had to resit it. So I had to take it again. And it was me and a bunch of like a couple of us. I think it was 4 people in general that failed that course, and we had to take it again. And all of us passed except one person. And the reason that this one person failed wasn't because his work was bad by any stretch of the imagination. This was a very talented person, very talented. And in fact, now, if I look him up on Instagram or something, he has a great following on Instagram. He has amazing artworks posted online. He has a lot of potential for success. I don't know if he is successful, but he has a lot of potential for it. And that is to say, his work was definitely not bad. However, where he failed was that during the assignment, he would constantly challenge and create conflict with the teachers and the instructors, right? And in his mentality, like the way that he would always justify it is that he would say like, yeah, like the instructors are meant to judge me and to grade me based on my work, not based on my character. So I can talk to them anyhow, I can be rude to them, I can be overly explicit with my feelings towards them, and it's all good because at the end of the day, they are meant to grade my work. Well, guess what, sunshine? That's not how it works. Okay, yes, in an objective, perfect world, they would be able to just grade your work on its merit. But in the real physical world, with no delusions, there is a social game being played. And if you treat people a certain way to the point where they garner negative feelings towards you, then they're going to treat you negatively and they're going to want to take out, their negative feelings towards you in any kind of outlet they see fit, right? Even if that means failing you at a course that you did amazing at, right? Because you disrespected them. There are power dynamics at play. You do not disrespect the people at power because they have power over you, all right? And there are all kinds of different dynamics. There's dating dynamics, right? There is a way to attract a woman. A lot of people want to think that, okay, just being myself and just going up to her and just be myself, be my usual goofy self, that should be enough to attract the woman. Guess what? That's not enough. There's more to it. Yeah, for the most part, of course, you have to be your genuine self, but people talk about game for a reason, all right? Guys use game for a reason, all right? The world exists. The concept exists. It's not just some fantasy. It exists. And you're better off learning how to play the game in the dating world so that you don't end up with a low quality partner that's gonna screw you over, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line. You need to learn the game. Same with work, okay? A lot of people wanna think that if you're like the quiet person in the corner doing really, really good work, then you will be rewarded by it, right? You will be rewarded for your good work. But guess what? That's not how it works. The people that get the most promotions, the people that climb the ladder in the company are not the most competent people. It's the most social people that are able to create a relationship with the people in charge, and they're able to use that relationship to convey their positive traits, to convey the value that they bring to the workplace, and then get the promotion. Okay, you could be amazing at your work, but if you have no relationship with your boss, and your boss doesn't really know that you're good at your work, you're not going to get a promotion. All right, you need to learn how to play the game. Okay, for like the longest time, this goes back to now I want to talk about friendships. For the longest time, I always used to think that, okay, if I want to like befriend people, I just need to make them feel special. I need to like kind of supplicate to them and really validate everything that they're working on, be super friendly, be impressed by them, make them feel good about who they are. And by me supplicating to them in this way, then we will get to be friends. Like that was my mentality when I was in like middle school. So I was like 12, 13 years old. That was my mentality. I had to supplicate myself to people and I had to present myself as lesser than them to become friends with them. And I quickly realized that not only does that not work with the high quality people, but the only people that does work with are people that are kind of narcissistic, insecure, and they are looking for someone that they can lord over, someone that they can use and mistreat in order to feel better about themselves. And I quickly snapped out of that mindset. And now I know and I realize from experience that if you want to make friends, you have to be the high value person. You have to be the person that people look up to. You have to be the one with the wisdom, the one with the answers, the one with the truth. You should be the person that people are seeking out. You should be the person who everyone chases for their approval. That's how you get people to like you. That's how you get friends that are loyal and high quality and high value. You don't get them by supplicating. You don't get them by being a people pleaser. That's the game. And the quicker you learn the game, the better. Okay? The quicker you rid yourself of these delusions of how an idealistic world is supposed to be, and instead look at the world for how it actually is, the sooner you can change your habits, the sooner you can get the things that you want out of your life, and the more time you're going to have to enjoy the benefits of learning the game. All right? Like if you're 40 or 50 years old and you learn the game at that age, great, that's cool, but it's going to be a lot harder because you have 40, 50 years worth of habits that you're now meant to unpack and get rid of and unlearn. And you have like maybe another like 50 years for you to enjoy the benefits of that. But if you learn it in your early 20s, you have 80 years where you get to enjoy the benefits and hone in your skills and refine and integrate the principles into your very being. And it will compound and compound and compound that by the time that you're 50, by the time that you're 60, 70, 80, your life is beyond anything that the average person could have ever imagined because they don't know the game. All right. So stop living in a deluded world. Learn the game. Play the game. Stop wishing that the world was anything different than what it actually is. And instead, see it for what it is and use it to your advantage. Thanks for watching.